So let's start recording now. So as discussed, the idea of quality of service is to respond to the fact that we have a bigger demand on our network services and software services than we have a supply. And so what we do is and particularly at certain peak points, um, perhaps sometimes we have everything it's without any problems, but at certain peak points we may have spikes, and then we do something to overcome that problem, and that's what we call our quality of service. Not sure about a marking. So that's what we've been talking about in the last lesson and this lesson. We've only got a few more slides to discuss regarding this, and that's where we are now. I think we're on about this slide 21, 20, yeah, maybe 22, I think is about where we left off. So the idea here is a representation of this tool called a packet sniffer. I think that you may have used Wireshark in some of your labs, in some of your classes, because I think you guys are networking students. So that's one of the tools that we can use to monitor the network. The idea of monitoring the network is so that we can see when the peaks come, and we can sort of analyze those, and so we can plan to make sure that we don't have sort of shortages of the services that we want to be giving at the priority that we want to be giving them. So one of those is Wireshark. I'm not sure, but I'm asking you, have you guys used Wireshark? If you have, you'll know that you can sort of change different protocols that you look at, so you can focus on different protocols from the handshaking TCP protocol or UDP protocol down to the HTML protocols. So you can see the packets over your network. It's a nice sort of thing for analyzing the network. Now, bearing in mind that Wireshark is open source software, so you can download and start running that on your computer freely. And so if you came across somebody who had a Wi-Fi connection which was unencrypted, now generally they are encrypted, but if they weren't, then you would be able to sort of, well, you can certainly sample the packets as they come through. And as I said, if they were unencrypted, or if you were somehow able to crack that encryption, you'd be able to sort of view people's communication over the Wi-Fi, which obviously wouldn't be something that you'd want happening to you if that was you, right? So that's the concept of a packet sniffer, is that it is going to sample packets that are on the network, and those packets can then be analyzed to identify different sort of patterns in the network to help you as a network support person to sort of come up with solutions to issues to do with the transfer of the data over the network. Packet capture is related to that, and a similar tool. Yeah, basically that diagram kind of shows how it works. So we have other software tools that we can use that will help us to analyze the network. These tools that are following in the next few slides are all about that, all about analyzing what's going on in the network. And so here we're having a tool which allows, what's it doing? It's doing virtual machines through a server, and the software is able to monitor and do the load balancing over those machines. Load testing. So I hope you get the idea from the name there. What you can do, you can put up a bunch of packets onto the network and sort of push them through the network, and then test the response of the network to that. And by doing that, you can test all these different components. You can test your CPUs and memories of the hardware devices, but also over the network itself. And so basically you have the thing that's going to be important about load testing is that you actually know exactly the size of the the data that you're going to be pushing over the network. And so then you can measure time and other effects as it goes through the network. And so here's an example diagram sort of representing load testing. So we've got a bunch of different applications that are running over the network, and load testing is used to test each of those, and yeah, to sort of give a report on those. Throughput testing, I hope that you got the idea of that from the previous slides, just from the definition, throughput. So your throughput is going to be the total time, the total, yeah, it's a measure based on the time, how much data over the total time. So that's what we mean. So everything is sort of included in that, but only for the successful data that's is going through there. So unsuccessful data packets are not measured as part of the throughput. And so, yeah, so your throughput is going to be your successful data packets over a particular time. So as it says here, bits per second. So with the tools that you would be able to use for your throughput testing, you can produce analytics on it. And here's an example of some analytics using this particular software, which is called TamoSoft. This is a bit old, but gives you an idea. But it's showing its testing of the throughput, and it's able to give you a bunch of graphs to show the different components that it's tested over the network. And so there it's got TCP and UDP streams. So you know your two different protocols that you're using on your network, and seeing how they are being processed, and how they're you know, what's this is yeah, the throughput that is related to each of those. We see the throughput of the UDP seems to be kind of a bit better than TCP. We expect that because TCP has some sort of built-in handshaking that UDP doesn't. And there we go. That seems to be the end of the slides that we have. So just as I said in summary, the idea of quality of service is that we can meet our service level agreements. Now remember, this course and a previous course that you have, there's very much focused on this idea of service level agreements, because service level agreements sort of tie in many of the concepts that we talk about. So including this quality of service, but also ITIL principles and all of those different management that we have in ITIL. So for example, our incident management, problem management, etc. And so those things, how we sort of make them sure, kind of how we agree upon them, is through the service level agreement. So service level agreement, we will specify in there a certain level of throughput for different applications, for different prioritized parts of the organization or activities of the organization. Those will be specified in the service level agreement, and using the tools that are mentioned here, not these specifically because they do change from time to time. You know, we do have ongoing improvements in technology, but using particular tools, they're able to guarantee a particular quality of service in a service level agreement at a certain cost. So I hope that